Right, we're now on take about 8 million of this because it's not my day. So today we're talking about aerial roots. I'm just going to whiz through it because I'm getting sick of talking about them now. Aerial roots are these weird lumps that grow out of leaf nodes, these things. And they only really have one purpose, and that is to attach to trees so plants can start at the forest floor and grow up towards the light without having to make a trunk of their own. They just climb up other trees or whatever you give them, a moss bowl, whatever. I get two main questions about aerial roots, and it's mostly pertaining to Monstera. The first one is, can you grow a Monstera from aerial roots? And the second one is, should you cut them off? Right, first question. I cut this aerial root off my Monstera earlier, and if I planted this, nothing would happen. Well, it would probably rot after a while. The chances of this developing into another Monstera are 1,000,000 to 1. I don't know if that's accurate. It's highly unlikely, and it's not a good way to get a Monstera. I'm not saying it can't happen, because if I do, somebody will be like, well, it happened to me. Maybe it did. But it's not really a good way of getting a plant. What you can do is plant them back into the soil, and I've had reports, which I don't know how accurate they are, that if you plant a Monstera root, aerial root, into the soil, it will grow into another Monstera. Now, I always do this with my plants because if you plant the aerial root back into the soil, it adds stability. So your plant will stay more upright rather than climb along the floor, which is what mine like to do. And I've never had a Monstera pup crop up. But I'm not saying that it won't happen. Maybe it will. Who knows? Let me know in the comments if that's ever happened to you. I think the confusion is when people are describing how to take a cutting from a Monstera, they always say, make sure you get an aerial root. And if you put an aerial root in water, it can often change? It can start acting like a water root, and it can absorb oxygen from the water. But you have to be quite quick. This one wouldn't. It's probably too brown by now. It's started to wither, so this is done. It's decided that it's an aerial root. It's starting to die, and it will not grow in water. It'll just rot away. But also, the reason why people recommend taking a cutting with an aerial root is that's a guarantee that you've got a node. So if I chopped a leaf, which I'm not going to do, off my Monstera, just sort of here. Oh, hang on. Yeah, here. It would grow roots, possibly, if I was good enough at changing the water, which I probably wouldn't be. But it would never grow into another plant. Leaves can root, but that's all they're going to do. You'll have a leaf with some roots that would last a really long time, but it would never grow into a full plant. But if you cut below a part of the plant that has an aerial root, you know there you've got a node because that's where the aerial roots come from. And the number of aerial roots you'll get will vary, as will the number of leaves. So what do you actually do with aerial roots then? And the answer is really whatever you want. If you don't like the look of them, cut them off. The plant won't really care. Well, it certainly won't kick up a fuss. It won't die. If you do like the look of them and you want to encourage them, it's actually it's easy in Monstera. Rhaphidophora tetrasperma grow aerial roots really nicely. They have a really neat, like, one leaf, one aerial root system, which I really enjoy. I'll insert footage here because I really do like it. It's really I just like how they're so organised about it, whereas Monstera are like, however many, whatever. And different plants seem to have different attitudes to aerial roots. So pothos seem to, they quite like to entertain them. So here we have a neon pothos, and it has a couple of aerial roots here. It's got one up here. Actually, this is growing. This is quite sort of a neat one. So yeah, we've got a few going here. And if I trained this up, a plank of wood or something, I don't do moss balls because you have to keep them moist, and otherwise the aerial roots won't stick to them. But they climb better at wood. They also climb really well at walls, but they'll take the paint off. So, oh, look at this one. So yeah, you could grow this up some wood, maybe stick it on with some sellotape or something, and after a while it will start to attach. And it's fairly straightforward. Whereas on a plant that looks fairly similar, this is a lemon lime philodendron, and you can see, if I hold it up, I have no idea if you can see this, the aerial roots are much thinner and flimsier, and if you go further back to this node here, not that one, it's on its way though, they wither up really quickly. So if you wanted to grow this one up, you'd have to do it when the plant was quite young, or prop it if you wanted all the aerial roots to do, because it doesn't take very long, maybe only a couple of weeks, for the aerial roots to just wither up and die, and then once they're dead they won't do anything anymore. Another question I get asked fairly often is, can you put aerial roots in water? And I don't really know how to answer this, because yeah, you can put it in water. It won't really do anything though. If you're sharpish about it, you might be able to get some roots from it, but you won't get a whole plant from it. The only thing, I don't know if what people actually mean is, can you, if you get a cutting with an aerial root, can you put the whole thing in water and will it grow? Yeah, you can grow. I have a Monstera that is grown entirely in water. I bought a baby one for about £5, and because I was writing an article on whether or not you could, and I thought, well, I may as well do it. I've done it with peace lilies, but that's a lot of people grow peace lilies in water. So I thought I would try, and I grew it in a pint glass. But the problem was, you do need to be quite diligent about changing the water. It gets it gets a lot of algae build up, which looks gross. I mean, it doesn't affect your plant, but Monstera they grow quickly naturally, so they will deplete the oxygen from the water quite quickly, and if you don't keep on top of that, you can end up with root rot, or the plant will just stop growing and look a bit sad. Mine got thrips because it's a Monstera, and Monstera love getting thrips. So I was gonna put it in soil. I was actually gonna plant it with my other one, but I thought I would try keeping it in the aquarium, and it's gone mad in there. It grows much quicker in the aquarium than it grew in soil. It puts out like 2 new leaves a week, and I'm actually really sad. And I'm gonna see how long, because this is a tiny baby, and I really want to see how long it will take before we start getting splits. So because the lighting in there is really, really good, and I might take it out for some sun when it gets a bit warmer. But yeah, it grows really, really quickly. But growing in an aquarium is very different to growing in a glass of water. So it's got amazing lighting. It's got a gentle fertilizer from the fish. It's got a lot of water, like airflow. And I don't know if this helps, but we have an algae eater that loves cleaning the roots. So it's growing. And obviously it's high humidity just above the water. Only the roots are in the water. Its leaves are above the water line. If you submerge the whole thing, it will just rot. Monstera aren't aquatic plants. So yeah, I'm assuming that's what people mean by when they ask if they can put the aerial roots in water. But yeah, if you just put the aerial roots, if the plant is in soil and you put the aerial roots in a glass of water, you're not really doing anything. Unless you like the way that looks, you're really not going to gain anything from doing that. That I'm aware of. I might be wrong, but they can't get any extra oxygen out of that water than from the air. So if you don't want to chop off the aerial roots of your plants, and you also aren't that bothered about having them climb, what you can do is just direct them back into the soil. That's what I've done with this Thai constellation. There's an aerial root just there that I've just poked back in, and that's rooted, and it's not going to grow anything or do anything particular other than it's like a little kickstand for a bike on my Monstera, just to help prop it up a bit, because there's really not enough stem for it to have a moss pole yet, but this summer we'll change that. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below, or I've got an article on my blog, I'll link that and you can ask a question in the comments. So yeah, bye.